I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, but I've lived in the Pittsburgh area my whole life. Earlier this season, when the Pirates were playing in Chicago, I decided to go to a sports bar to watch the game. I picked one I'd driven past 100 times but never tried, the Pittsburgh Sports Bar in Castle Shannon. I walked in about 5 minutes before first pitch, wearing my Cubs gear. POV, pushing open the heavy wooden door of a dimly lit bar, the glow of a TV visible inside, Cubs logo on sleeve entering frame. Inside, it was quiet. One woman was tending the bar, and an old couple sat at the far end. All three stopped talking and stared at me like I was an alien. I figured it was the rival jersey. No greeting. I sat at a table near a big TV and waited for the game to start. Wide shot of the bar interior, empty tables, bartender and elderly couple frozen, their faces pale under the fluorescent bar lights, all staring toward the camera. I got up to order food. My table had nothing on it. No menus, no condiments. When I reached the bar, I noticed something stranger. There were no liquor bottles or beer taps behind it. Just cluttered shelves of random Pittsburgh sports memorabilia, with no real theme. Signs on the wall read things like, "If you're easily offended, get out." The old couple watched me blank-faced. Close-up of the empty, polished bar top, then panning up to the barren back bar wall. Only dusty jerseys and odd plaques, no alcohol in sight. The bartender said she'd get a menu and disappeared into a back room. She was gone for a solid 10 minutes. When she returned, I ordered a pizza slice and a wing basket. It was shockingly cheap, $6 total. The food came out suspiciously fast. She brought it herself, and when the kitchen door swung open, I caught a glimpse inside. It was almost empty. No cooks, no sounds of cooking. But the food, it was the best I've ever had. The wings were perfect. It felt wrong. Brief glimpse through a swinging kitchen door into a stark, shadowy room with a single counter and no visible appliances, then a close-up of a massive plate of golden wings and fries. As I ate, more people trickled in. They were all strange, dressed in plain, bland clothes, no sports gear at all. They sat as far from me as possible, huddled at the end of the bar with the old couple and the bartender. They talked non-stop in hushed tones I couldn't decipher. Their faces never changed expression. They looked like statues holding a conversation. Low-angle shot from the narrator's table, showing the group of newcomers at the distant end of the bar, their bodies rigid, faces eerily placid under the dim light. The game was on, but no one reacted. No cheers when the Pirates scored. They just stared at the screens, talking quietly. The old man did the weirdest thing. Every 5 minutes, he'd walk to the video slot machine right by my table, put in a $20 bill, and bet it all at once. He lost every single time. He did this for over an hour. Close-up of wrinkled hands inserting a crisp $20 bill into a slot machine, then a wide shot of the old man's expressionless face as the machine's reels spin and lose. The screens glow on his skin. Near the game's end, he walked to the TouchTunes jukebox, put in another 20, and played the strangest, most vintage dance music I've ever heard. Obscure 1930s-sounding tracks. The jukebox audio overrode the TVs, so I could no longer hear the broadcast. The playlist just kept going. After the game ended, I'd been there 3 hours. No one had ever brought me a check. The old man's silhouette at the glowing TouchTunes screen, his finger selecting a song titled 1937 Swing, then a shot of the narrator alone at his table surrounded by the unnatural tinny music. I went to the bar to ask for my bill. The bartender looked confused. Before getting it, she walked over to the huddled group, whispered something, and all 5 or 6 of them stood up in unison and filed out the back door. She disappeared into the empty kitchen, came back with my check, and I paid. When I finally left, one of those strange people was loitering outside. He tried to start a conversation about Chicago. I mumbled something, got in my car, and drove away. Looking back from the driver's seat of a car, through the rain-spotted windshield at the bar's entrance, where a lone, Blandly dressed man stands watching the car leave, his face obscured by shadow. I never went back. To this day, I don't know if I walked into a cult's front, a mafia meeting, or something else. I just know that place wasn't a sports bar. And that food was too good to be true. Slow zoom on the Pittsburgh Sports Bar sign from the empty parking lot at dusk, the windows now completely dark, the final shot holding on the silent, vacant building. I was 16 years old, and I used to work part-time with a family member to earn some pocket money. During my breaks, I'd go outside to smoke a cigarette. Employees from the business next door would do the same. There was a man about 45 who often smoked at the same time. We'd make small talk about customers, the weather, nothing important. POV looking across a concrete back alley behind two businesses. Late afternoon sun casting long shadows. A man in his 40s leans against a brick wall smoking. One day, he told me he'd just moved into a house near my neighborhood. He said he was throwing a housewarming party and had invited everyone from both workplaces. He told me I should come. I was lonely at that age, and any excuse to get out of the house felt good. So that Saturday, I went. Close-up of a hand pressing a doorbell on a white-painted wooden door. The sound is loud and echoing. He opened the door, let me in, and immediately locked it behind me. I heard the deadbolt slide into place. He even put the key into the waistband of his pants. I looked around the living room. It was quiet. Too quiet. There was no music, no voices, no signs of a party. Visual. Slow pan across an empty, tidy living room. A couch, a TV, but no people, no drinks, no decorations. Late afternoon light slants through a window. I asked where everyone else was. He said they'd already come and gone. I reminded him he said the party started at 2. He just mumbled something, and I could smell the alcohol on his breath. He was already tipsy. After a few minutes of awkward talk, he offered to show me the house. When we reached the bedroom, he gestured inside and said, "Here's your room. Look, you even have a big walk-in closet." Visual, view from hallway into a dim bedroom. A man's silhouette points inside. The room is sparsely furnished with a bare mattress on a frame. My mind just froze. I laughed nervously, trying to play it off as a bad joke. We went back to the living room and sat on the couch. Then, without warning, he lunged at me. He was heavy, twice my size, and drunk. I managed to shove him off, and he stumbled to the floor. He sat there, confused, and said, "I don't understand. You don't want to? You always smiled at me." Low-angle shot from the floor, that looking up at a confused, intoxicated man sitting on a carpet. The ceiling light is harsh and glaring. That's when he completely lost it. He started rambling about his ex-wife, how I had the same name, the same beauty mark, the same face. He said I was her twin, but better. He talked about our future children, about arranging the house for me. In that moment, I knew I was in real serious danger. His body was a wall between me and the locked door. Extreme close-up on the narrator's eyes, wide with fear, reflected in the dark screen of a turned-off television. The man's voice is heard, but he's out of focus in the background. He went to the bathroom, which took a long time. I called a coworker, the man who was supposed to be supervising me. He was out of town and had trouble believing his friend could do this. He told me to call the police, but I had to hang up. I couldn't call my parents. They'd blame me for being there. I was trapped. From 2 in the afternoon until past 10 at night, I was stuck there, playing along, trying to survive. Close up on a flip phone held with trembling hands, screen glowing in the dark hallway. The sound of a toilet flushing grows louder from behind a door. Late that night, I pretended I needed a specific medication from home. I promised I'd come right back. He was slumped on the couch, eyes glazed from alcohol and weed. He finally agreed, but as he unlocked the door, he made me promise. Then he said if I wasn't back by midnight, he'd call my mom's boss and get her fired. He watched me from the doorway until I turned the corner. Visual. Looking back at the house from the end of the street. A silhouette of a man is framed in the bright yellow rectangle of the open front door, watching. I was walking home, crying and shaking, when a guy on a bike rolled up. He was someone I knew from around the neighborhood. He asked for a cigarette, then asked why I was such a mess. I told him everything, hyperventilating. I said I had to go back or my mom would suffer. He had me show him the house. Then he told me, "Go home. Sleep. Forget this story." He said he'd text me in the morning. Visual: street lamp POV looking down at a deserted residential street. A teenage girl is hunched over, talking to a man on a mountain bike. Their shadows are long and distorted on the pavement. The next morning he texted, "Everything's fine, hope you slept well." I asked what happened. He just replied with a winking smiley face. 2 days later, a coworker told me the man had moved out. He said some people had broken into his new place and destroyed everything. They said he didn't have any front teeth left when he came to get his things. I never saw the guy on the bike again. I filed a police report later, but nothing ever came of it. Slow zoom on a red flip phone screen displaying a single text message. The screen then fades to black, leaving only the faint reflection of the narrator's face. This happened back in the summer of 2011. I had just moved to a new city, staying with my mom's best friend and her son, Michael. One afternoon, Michael invited me out to a bar. We spent a few hours there, drinking beers, eating steaks, and shooting pool. We left in high spirits, but we had a 15-minute walk home. Right as we were leaving, a friend of Michael's offered us his bike. We took it. Exterior of a dimly lit bar at night, 2 young men exiting, one wheeling a bicycle. Streetlights cast long shadows on the empty sidewalk. I was walking and Michael was on the bike, but we were keeping pace. We turned onto one of the city's main drives. That's when a black SUV, full of guys, suddenly screeched to a stop right beside us. The passenger window rolled down. A guy told us to throw the bike in the back. We just stared, not moving. Other cars started coming up behind them, so they had to drive forward. To turn around, they'd have to go up to the next intersection because of the road islands. POV from sidewalk, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled abruptly to the curb. The interior is dark, but silhouettes of several men are visible. Headlights from approaching cars gleam on its paint. Michael, who was always more street smart than me, immediately bent down and picked up a decent-sized rock from the gutter. He slipped it into his sock without a word. We didn't need to discuss it. We both ran across the street as fast as we could. The only thing between us and home was one big steep hill and then a smaller one. Our street was at the top. I wasn't a runner, and this hill was brutal. Close-up of a hand grabbing a rough gray rock from a concrete gutter. The hand slides it into a white athletic sock. In the background, the SUV's taillights are receding down the dark road. I was completely gassed by the time I reached the midway point of the big hill. I had to look back. Down at the bottom, I saw the black SUV had returned. It idled under a streetlight. 2 doors opened and 2 guys got out. They started sprinting up the hill toward us. They were in much better shape. Meanwhile, the SUV pulled away, probably to go around the block and cut us off from the other side. Looking down a steep, dark residential hill. At the bottom, a black SUV is parked under an orange streetlight. 2 silhouettes exit and begin running uphill, their forms growing larger. We made it to the crest of the big hill and started up the smaller one. I could hear their footsteps pounding closer. One of them was right behind me. That's when Michael swung the rock in his sock. I heard a solid thwack and a grunt of pain. He then hurled the bike itself at the other guy. We didn't wait to see the result. We just sprinted the last 20 yards to the house, fumbled with the door, and barged inside. Low-angle shot from the ground, looking up a grassy hill. 2 figures are silhouetted against the porch light of a distant house. One figure swings a blurred object downward. We slammed the door shut, leaning against it, gasping for air. It took a full minute to even process what had just happened. They got the bike, but they hadn't laid a hand on us. We thought it was over. 2 days later, Michael and I were at his aunt's house in the same neighborhood. The local news was on in the background. A report came on about a shooting in the area. The police were looking for a vehicle involved. It was a black SUV. A darkened living room, the blue glow of a television screen illuminating two faces. A news graphic reads, "Police investigate shooting," with a map of the local area. We never heard anything more about it. Michael did call his friend that night to tell him about his bike. He wasn't even upset. He was just glad we were okay. To the guys in that black SUV who chased us down over a piece of crap bicycle on a hot summer night, let's not meet again. The camera slowly pushes in on a window in a dark room, looking out onto an empty, moonlit street. The view is slightly obscured by the reflection of the narrator's face in the glass. Slowly zooming in on dark, empty room, single lamp light, chair facing away from camera. Thanks for listening. If you have your own story you'd like to share, leave it in the comments or send it to me directly. I read every single one. Stay safe.